If you're a truck driver, you know that feeling, right? That constant hum of change in the industry.
Yeah, it really feels like there's always something new around the corner.
Exactly.
Right.
A new rule, a market shift, some tech update, and honestly, just trying to keep pace with all of it, it can feel, well, more than a little overwhelming.
It really can.
So today, we're taking a deep dive into several recent developments that are actively reshaping the trucking world right now. We've got insights from articles, expert analysis,
Right.
and our mission is pretty clear. Cut through the noise. We want to explore how these changes directly impact your life on the road and, most importantly, how you can strategically turn them into opportunities.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how all these seemingly separate stories you mentioned, new regulations, market shifts, tech advancements, they aren't just isolated events. They actually connect right to the bigger picture of
Yep.
your day-to-day and really your long-term future in this business.
That's a great point.
Hervey from Life, as a trucker, always emphasizes this is you got to look at these things from all angles to really get the landscape.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about those new English proficiency rules that are already causing a bit of a buzz.
hmm
Why that big 2027 truck pre-buy just fizzled out.
Yeah, completely.
Upcoming changes for hauling beverages, a massive cold storage boom down in Texas, and some genuinely exciting tech for truck parking. Finally,
Always a hot topic.
always and throughout, we'll uncover what you need to know to not just survive, but really thrive and, build the future you want on your terms. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Let's start with something hitting the road, like right now. Something that could impact you directly during your next inspection, this new enforcement around English language proficiency.
Yeah, that's a significant one.
Yeah.
The FMCSA's updated rules, they officially became enforceable nationwide, June 25th, 2025.
Okay.
So this means if an inspector decides a driver fails to demonstrate functional fluency during an inspection, well, they can be placed out of service, OOS, right there on the spot.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. Think of it like driving without your CDL or going over your hours of service. It's now at that level of national enforceability.
Okay, so what does functional fluency actually mean in practice? Is there a test?
Well, that's the tricky part. We learned from a webinar just before it kicked off. It's not about perfect grammar or, passing some written exam.
Right.
It's strictly about spoken conversation. Can you understand and respond to basic safety instructions? But here's the critical thing. There's no standard test.
No standard test.
Nope. It's largely based on the individual inspector's discretion, which, means the experience and the outcome could vary a lot from stop to stop.
So even for a really experienced driver, a simple misunderstanding, maybe you misinterpret a question, that could literally put your load, your whole day on hold.
Exactly. That's the risk. It's a serious risk to your livelihood.
But doesn't that open the door for, subjective calls, where an inspector's perception could unfairly hit a driver?
That is precisely the concern.
Yeah.
From the driver's side, some are calling it discrimination, plain and simple, an unnecessary hurdle.
I can see that.
Others, though, argue that, look, clear communication is essential, especially in emergencies, right?
True.
Carriers, naturally, they're looking at increased risk, derailed routes, late deliveries, maybe even insurance headaches if drivers get put OS. The DOT, well, they insist it's purely about safety, not about accents, not about perfect English.
So what can you actually do about it, especially if you're a solo driver?
Okay, key takeaway here. View this proactively. It's about safeguarding your job. So use free apps. Duolingo, the trucker's English toolkit, they can help with common phrases, safety stuff.
Good idea.
Record yourself answering typical DOT questions. Get comfortable with it. Maybe ask a buddy, another driver, for a mock interview. Just practice.
Practice helps, definitely.
And importantly, save proof of any training you do. Could be crucial if you ever need to fight an unfair citation. It's about building confidence and showing you're prepared, especially when inspector discretion is such a wild card.
Okay, that makes sense. And speaking of changes that really impact your record, your career, let's talk about another big one, the complete overhaul of the CSA system.
Oh yeah, this is monumental. The FMCSA's Compliance, Safety, Accountability System, CSA, it's getting revamped, big time, to be more predictive, more data-driven.
Predictive, how so?
Well, we're talking about a totally new scoring method. It'll use item groups, not the broad basics we're used to.
Okay.
Better weighting for violations, more frequent data updates. Why it matters directly to you, the driver, is that your CSA score. It's basically your professional credit score in trucking.
Right. Affects insurance, loads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A strong score
Ugh.
opens doors to premium loads, help keep insurance costs down. A bad score, you could get passed over for the good freight, face higher costs, even struggle with broker contracts.
So what's the reaction been like across the industry to this revamp?
It's mixed. Small fleets, owner-operators,
Mm,
they're understandably nervous.
right.
They're their own compliance department, don't always have the resources to constantly track and analyze data.
Yeah, that's tough.
Mega carriers, on the other hand, they're already investing heavily, not just software, but ELD analysis tools, driver coaching programs,
Yeah.
trying to get ahead of it.
And drivers themselves.
Kind of split. Some see it as, okay, maybe a chance to clean up records faster, more clearly. Others just see more red tape, more scrutiny.
So what's the smart strategy here? For drivers, for carriers?
Audit your CSA data now. Seriously. Find and fix any errors before this kicks in, because every violation is going to count more clearly, impact your score more directly.
Good advice?
Double down on safety training. Stay plugged into reliable sources for updates. It really is about proactively protecting your professional standing in this new system.
So bottom line for both of these regulatory changes, English proficiency, CSA revamp, is be proactive, stay informed, take control.
Absolutely. It's about managing your professional self.
Okay, let's shift gears now. Zoom out to the bigger economic picture, because there was this big, highly anticipated event in trucking that, well, it just didn't happen, did it?
Not at all. We're talking about the supposed 2027 truck pre-buy, which, to put it bluntly, is dead on arrival, DOA.
Right. Everyone expected this massive rush.
Exactly. Analysts predicted this huge pre-buy before the 2027 EPA clean truck regulations hit. You know, historically, new emission standards mean new engine designs, higher costs, maybe more maintenance risks early on.
So fleets would buy before the deadline.
That was the theory. A
Yeah.
huge rush to buy the current models. A kind of modern-day gold rush for new rigs. But
Yeah.
nope, it completely fizzled out.
That's wild. So what killed it? Why did all that hype just evaporate?
It was really a perfect storm of factors converging. First, and maybe the biggest, freight is deep in the ditch.
Yeah, volumes are low, rates are stagnant.
Lowest volumes in over a decade. Spot rates barely covering fuel for some folks. Fleets are focused on survival, honestly, not making massive new purchases. You can't blame them.
Makes sense.
What else? Politics. A big one. That change in the White House late last year signaled potential regulatory rollbacks, or at least delays.
Uncertainty.
Massive uncertainty. Fleets started asking, will these expensive EPA rules even happen as planned? Why gamble on costly, complex new trucks if the rules might change or soften?
Right. And tariffs.
Yep. Third factor, tariffs, trade war rumors, just added more uncertainty about future parts, prices, supply chains, made everyone hesitant.
And the truck makers themselves.
They held back too. The OEMs paused major engine revamps. They weren't willing to invest heavily in designs that might become obsolete if the regulations shifted, so everyone kind of hit the brakes.
So instead of panic buying, we're seeing this strategic pivot. How are companies adapting beyond just like flexible financing?
That's a great question, because the adaptation is really interesting. You see companies like PackLease offering not just flexible financing, but shorter lease terms, more options,
Yeah.
letting fleets test the waters.
Smart.
Consultants are telling fleets, extend your planning window, think 18, 36 months out. The future's fuzzy.
Right. Yeah.
And some OEMs are working on modular engine systems, designs that could potentially be upgraded or adapted depending on what the final EPA rules actually look like, kind of future-proofing.
Wow, modular engines, that's innovative.
It is. So, the bottom line, that pre-buy is DOA. Adaptability, not panic, is the name of the game now.
Okay, sticking with the economic theme, there are also new rules hitting specific types of freight,
Yep.
beverages, right? That could change your rates, even how you load.
We got it. Starting July 19, 2025.
Uh-huh.
So coming up soon, the NMFTA, that's the National Motor Freight Traffic Association, they're updating the NMFC system, specifically for beverages.
Okay, NMFC, National Motor Freight Classification, how's it changing?
The big change is it won't just classify beverages by type, like soda versus water. It'll also factor in packaging, how well it stacks, its handling characteristics, stuff like that.
Huh. So, more detailed, how does that impact me, the driver?
Directly. It impacts your rate negotiations, your freight liability. Think about it. Higher risk for breakage means higher liability for you,
Good point.
and your load planning. Might need tighter securement, maybe fewer mixed pallets, adjustments to loading times.
How does this play out differently for, say, LTL versus OTR or reefers?
Okay, LTL carriers, expect more paperwork, maybe more back and forth with shippers trying to get the best class.
Mm-hmm.
OTR might actually see more full loads of certain beverages as shippers try to consolidate to avoid complex charges.
Interesting. And reefers?
Could be an advantage, actually.
Yeah.
Temperature-sensitive drinks might get specific upcharges now, which could mean better pay for reliable temp-controlled hauls.
So shippers are probably nervous, drivers annoyed, brokers seeing opportunity.
You nailed it. Shippers. Panicking a bit about higher rates hitting margins, some drivers. Annoyed by more rules, maybe not enough extra pay. Freight brokers. Yeah, they're watching closely. Might see a chance to pad margins, so you really need to read the fine print on contracts.
So smart moves for truckers facing this.
Renegotiate contracts before July 19th. Seriously. Update your cargo insurance, reflect that potentially higher liability. Watch your stacking game, make sure it's secure, compliant.
Okay.
And learn the new NMFC classes. Knowing the difference between, say, Class 70 and Class 85 for a certain drink, that gives you leverage. Helps you avoid costly mistakes.
So whether it's the pre-buy that wasn't or these new beverage rules, the theme seems to be financial agility and just knowing your stuff, right?
Exactly. Understanding these market dynamics helps you negotiate better, secure your income, protect your bottom line.
Okay, let's pivot now. Let's talk about some really exciting developments, moving from maybe burdens to actual opportunities, starting with a huge investment down south.
Indeed. We're talking about a $15 million contract for new state-of-the-art refrigerated facilities popping up across Texas.
Cold storage. Why Texas?
Strategic location, near key highway, key rail corridors. And they're specifically designed for the growing demand in frozen and chilled freight. Think e-commerce groceries, global meat exports, even pharmaceuticals.
Pharma needs careful handling.
Absolutely. And the first phase should be live by late 2026.
So why should drivers, especially you reefer folks, really pay attention to this Texas boom?
Simple. More cold storage means more reefer loads.
Yeah.
And potentially better rates for you. Texas could really become a new hotspot for high-margin reefer freight, including cross-border shipments to Mexico.
Okay, more loads, better rates. What else?
The tech aspect. These places are being built smart. Integrated GPS-tracked reefer monitoring, AI for load balancing, smart check-in systems.
Faster turnarounds at the dock?
That's the goal. Faster handling, maybe even premium access for carriers with compliant, digitally connected units, and, crucially, clean inspection histories.
So how are different players reacting? Logistics companies, drivers, shippers?
Logistics companies. Thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
Enhances supply chain resilience. Drivers. Cautiously optimistic, more freight is good, but wary of new bottlenecks or stricter rules.
Understandable.
Shippers. They want speed, reliability, which often means stricter compliance demands for truckers. But the upside is potentially higher pay for those who meet the standards.
So for reefer drivers, the takeaway is?
Watch for new lanes opening up into and out of Texas. Consider reefer unit upgrades if you want that digital integration advantage. And know that your clean inspection history is going to be even more valuable currency for getting these premium loads.
Okay, good intel. Now let's talk about something that hits every single driver, every single day. Parking. There's some new hope on that front.
There really is. And we all know the problem, right? It's broken. Only about one spot for every 11 trucks during peak hours. Leads to stress, HOS violations, unsafe parking on ramps.
It's bad.
It's terrible. So, Truck Parking Club, that Airbnb-style platform where property owners list secure spots, they just launched free mobile access controls.
Mobile access, how does it work?
Drivers already book spots on the app, but now they can actually open the gates with their phone. 24/7 self-serve access.
Wow. Okay, that could be huge for nighttime access. No more waiting for someone to answer a phone or find a guard.
Exactly. Huge win. Regaining precious time, reducing stress. Imagine pulling in late, tired, just tap your phone, gate opens.
That sounds amazing.
And it builds trust for property owners too, right? Makes them more willing to open up private lots because access is logged, trackable.
So it could actually lead to more spots becoming available.
That's the hope. Faster growth of spots, especially in those desperate urban areas near DCs and busy interstates. Chattanooga is the first location with this fully rolled out. Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago likely next.
What's the buzz? Drivers excited. Owners. Safety folks.
Drivers. Cautiously hyped, I'd say. Depends on how well it works. Maintenance,
Sure, reality check.
Property owners see it as low-hassle passive income. Safety advocates. Thrilled. Hoping for less roadside chaos. Better HOS compliance.
So next steps for drivers interested in this.
Download the app, obviously. Filter by mobile access locations. Try it out. Leave reviews. Feedback is key. And hey, if you've got some land near a busy route, maybe consider partnering up.
Yeah.
Expand parking. Earn passive income.
Interesting idea. So, from smart cold storage tech to mobile parking solutions, these advancements really are potential game changers. They show how innovation can genuinely make your life on the road, well, more efficient, less stressful, maybe even more profitable.
Absolutely. And if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, all these changes, regulatory, economic, tech,
Hmm.
they all point to one crucial theme: the power of adaptation and of preparation.
Right. Like Hervey from Life, as a trucker says, see it from all angles.
Exactly. Understand the nuances, prepare accordingly.
It really boils down to not just reacting to what's thrown at you, right? But proactively managing your time, your career, and thinking about your off-duty time. Not just as downtime, but as like opportunity time, a chance to invest in yourself.
Which raises that really important question: what can you do? Not just to manage the day-to-day grind, but to actually build the future you want,
Hmm.
where you have control.
Yeah, that's the key. Control.
Well, the source material we looked at highlights training on things like AI for creating extra income streams.
AI. For truckers, how does that work?
It's not just some small side hustle idea. It's presented as a real strategic diversification, a way to build an off-ramp strategy,
Hmm.
something that can shield you from freight rate swings, economic
A
downturns,
safety net.
a powerful one. Imagine having that financial cushion. It lets you decide when to retire, not be forced out by the market. It's about using that off-duty time wisely. Maybe it is improving your transportation English for those inspections,
We're practicing those dialogues.
or even exploring things like partnering with Truck Parking Club, earning passive income from land if you have it.
Right.
And this idea of creating recurring online income, it's specifically mentioned as a way to soften the blow if, God forbid, your company hits hard times or closes. It empowers you to get out on your terms.
Get out on your terms. I like that. Look, you drivers, you are the absolute backbone of our economy. And you deserve to feel respected, supported, and like you have real agency over your career.
Couldn't agree more.
By understanding these shifts, by taking proactive steps, whether that's brushing up communication skills, embracing new tech, looking at building other income streams, you're not just surviving, you're building a more secure, more empowering future
Yeah.
for yourself on your terms.
Well said. So remember, when you're out there navigating all this change, adapting to new rules, market shifts,
Mm.
know that there are resources out there specifically designed to help you stay ahead, even thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. For more plain language guides, practical tips on how to adapt and win, or just to understand how to get ahead of the next big trends, definitely check out lifeatoutrucker.com.
And if you are thinking longer term about building that off-ramp, learning how to earn from home, maybe exploring those AI income streams for real financial freedom,
Yeah.
visit retirefromtrucking.com. They've got a free guide and training there because honestly, when you have a plan, you control the ending.
Keep learning, keep adapting, keep pushing forward. We really hope this deep dive helps you navigate the road ahead with just more confidence and more control.